You ever wonder why so many brown people have diabetes? 3 reasons. So number 1 is genetics. So type 2 diabetes means that your blood sugars are high because the hormone that's meant to regulate your blood sugars, which is insulin, is not able to do its job. Turns out that South Asians have more mutations in the beta islet cell genetics. Those are the cells that produce the insulin, so we have a problem on the production side, but probably more importantly, more mutations in the genes that determine how sensitive our cells are to that insulin. And that means that we have more insulin resistance, which is the main problem in type 2 diabetes. So for the same sugar load, turns out that South Asians need a higher level of insulin to bring their glucose levels back into a normal range because our bodies are more resistant to the effects of insulin. Number 2 is history. So sadly, Indians historically have been exposed repeatedly to famine conditions. And when you have repeatedly that kind of exposure, what happens over time is that you preferentially pass on genes generation after generation that enable you to adapt to those famine conditions. And that's called starvation adaptation. And these are the genes that allow us to very effectively and efficiently process food and store it as fat. So we're very good at storing fat, which is probably why it's hard for Indians to have a six-pack, but that's a whole other TikTok. But when we store fat, Indians tend to have more abdominal adiposity or obesity or fat. That fat, unfortunately, contributes to that insulin resistance. And the last one is diet. We have a very carbohydrate and fat-rich diet. A lot of potatoes, a lot of rice, flatbreads, all of these things cooked in clarified butter or ghee. And don't get me wrong, I love me some chola bhatura, but these are the kinds of things that lead to more weight gain, decreased metabolism, and ultimately more insulin resistance. So you can't do much about the genetics of increased insulin resistance, the genetics of starvation adaptation, but you can do something about your diet and your exercise regimen to help reduce your chances of getting diabetes.